Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we kick things off with the latest on Ukraine and Russia. Despite meeting in Turkey for their second peace talk in just over 2 weeks, the negotiations have hit a dead end. Major attacks continue on both sides, Ukraine's drone strikes on Russian bases and Russia's retaliatory drone assaults, leaving prospects for peace looking pretty bleak. They did agree to exchange thousands of fallen soldiers' bodies and set up a wounded troops commission, but no real breakthrough on ending the conflict. Next, we look at the ongoing tensions between the US and Canada over tariffs, and a surprising trend in America's cooking habits. As economic worries grow, more Americans are cooking at home than since the pandemic started, with over half feeling the economy is worsening. Meanwhile, in Canada, Ontario's mayor is furious about the doubled steel tariffs from the US, which threaten local jobs and industries. It's a tense time for trade, but people are finding comfort in their kitchens despite the economic storm. Finally, in a bold protest, Greenpeace has stolen a wax figure of Macron from a Paris museum to criticize France's trade with Russia. The activists argue France is hypocritical for supporting Ukraine while still doing business with Russia, especially in gas and fertilizers. This daring stunt highlights the ongoing global debates about war, trade, and environmental activism. Please continue to watch for all the details. The Toronto Star reports that recent peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul yielded no significant breakthroughs, despite intense recent military clashes and unprecedented attacks. The talks, which lasted just over an hour, saw Russia presenting a memo outlining its terms for ending hostilities, while Ukraine proposed further discussions and emphasized the need for a comprehensive review before responding. Both sides agreed to exchange thousands of bodies and wounded soldiers, yet the core issues remain unresolved. Ukraine's daring drone strikes on Russian air bases, especially targeting strategic bombers deep within Russian territory, have dealt a blow to Moscow's military power, destroying or damaging nearly a third of its bomber fleet and exposing critical vulnerabilities. Despite these setbacks, Russia launched its largest drone assault of the war against Ukraine, intensifying civilian and military strikes, while Kyiv remains optimistic that its bold operations will pressure Russia into diplomacy. The ongoing brutal fighting along the front lines, with shelling and missile attacks from both sides, underscores the persistent deadlock and the low prospects for peace, as international efforts to broker a ceasefire continue to falter amid mutual distrust and conflicting demands. Meanwhile, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation highlights that the Istanbul talks resulted in agreements to exchange prisoners and recover the bodies of thousands of fallen soldiers but failed to produce any progress toward a ceasefire. Russia insists on a long-term settlement, demanding Ukraine abandon its NATO ambitions and cede control of territories, while Kyiv rejects Moscow's terms, emphasizing its sovereignty and military strength. The negotiations included detailed proposals, such as a potential short-term ceasefire to recover bodies, and the exchange of 6,000 prisoners on each side, with Ukraine also demanding the return of children deported to Russia, an issue linked to international warrants for Russian officials accused of abducting Ukrainian children. Despite diplomatic gestures, expectations remain bleak, with both sides entrenched in their positions, Russia seeking territorial gains and Ukraine insisting on sovereignty and security. The conflict continues to escalate on the battlefield, with Russian shelling killing civilians and Ukrainian defenses repelling drone attacks, revealing the deepening stalemate. The broader geopolitical tension is palpable, as global actors like the US and Turkey attempt to mediate, yet the prospects for peace seem distant amid ongoing military escalation and entrenched national interests. The Independent reports a significant shift in American consumer behavior, highlighting that the number of people cooking at home has reached its peak since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. This resurgence in home cooking is driven by ongoing economic uncertainty, with nearly half of Americans describing the current economy as poor and a majority believing it is worsening. Campbell's CEO Mick Beekhuizen notes that, amidst rising inflation and economic fears, consumers are increasingly turning to homemade meals, mirroring patterns observed during the early days of the pandemic when lockdowns and unemployment soared. The report emphasizes that this trend spans all income levels, suggesting a broader shift in lifestyle and spending habits, possibly influenced by the lingering economic anxiety and the desire for cost-effective, comforting food amid turbulent times. CBC details the escalating trade tensions between the US and Canada, focusing on President Donald Trump's announced plan to double tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from 25% to 50%. This decision has profound implications for Algoma Steel in Sault Ste. Marie, a community heavily reliant on the steel industry, with a workforce of 2,500. Local officials and the MP express concern that such tariffs could cripple their ability to compete in the US market, potentially leading to job losses and economic instability. The mayor criticizes the move as counterproductive, citing historical evidence that tariffs often do more harm than good, citing the 2018 steel tariffs which, while creating some jobs, resulted in significant job losses elsewhere. The article underscores the urgent need for government support to mitigate the negative impact on workers and industry, emphasizing the broader debate over the effectiveness and fairness of such protectionist measures. Deutsche Welle highlights the plight of Azerbaijani journalist Farid Mehralizadeh, who faces a potential 12-year prison sentence for explaining economics, illustrating the severe crackdown on press freedom and civil society in Azerbaijan. His arrest followed his outspoken efforts to debunk government claims, and he was charged with serious crimes like money laundering and document forgery, charges widely viewed as politically motivated. The story reveals the personal toll on Mehralizadeh's family. His wife was pregnant during his detention, and he has missed countless precious moments with his newborn daughter. The article also draws parallels to the experiences of other imprisoned journalists, including Mehralizadeh's colleagues, and discusses the broader context of Azerbaijan's relentless suppression of dissent. Despite international advocacy and some hope for intervention, the case exemplifies the risks faced by journalists in authoritarian environments and raises concerns about the global decline in press freedom amidst geopolitical tensions and domestic repression. The Independent vividly captures the turbulent landscape of American journalism and political discourse, highlighting the firing of Gabriel Kucha, a staunch MAGA supporter and former Pentagon correspondent for One America News, OAN. Kucha's outspoken critique of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's aggressive restrictions on press access at the Pentagon ignited controversy, revealing a stark clash between government transparency and national security measures. Her candid account details how she was dismissed shortly after publicly questioning the administration's tightening grip on media, emphasizing her unwavering loyalty to her country and her commitment to truth despite personal cost. Kucha's story underscores the broader issue of press freedom under a government increasingly wary of scrutiny, especially within the military and national security spheres, painting a vivid picture of the ideological battles shaping American media. The Associated Press reports on a significant legal development as the Supreme Court agrees to revisit a Republican challenge to Illinois' mail-in ballot law, which permits ballots received up to 2 weeks after Election Day to be counted. This case, brought by Illinois Republicans including Representative Mike Bost, raises fundamental questions about voters' rights and election integrity, resonating with former President Trump's persistent claims that delayed ballot counting undermines electoral confidence. The case's potential to influence federal election procedures underscores ongoing partisan debates over voting laws, with implications for the legitimacy of electoral processes amid heightened political tensions. The decision to hear the case in the fall highlights the ongoing contest between election security and accessibility, reflecting the deep divisions within American democracy. The South China Morning Post vividly illustrates the escalating trade tensions between the United States and China, portraying a high-stakes game of economic brinkmanship. Despite the recent Geneva Agreement to temporarily ease tariffs, the U.S., under Trump's leadership, continues to impose strict export controls on advanced technology and critical minerals, aiming to pressure Beijing into concessions. China's swift rebuke and refusal to back down reveal a strategic resilience, leveraging its dominance in rare earth minerals and critical supply chains to counteract U.S. sanctions. Analysts depict Washington's tactics as a art of the deal approach that is unlikely to succeed against a China that remains cautious yet steadfast, emphasizing that the ongoing trade war is characterized by mutual mistrust, complex negotiations, and the risk of further escalation. The narrative vividly captures the fragile balance of power, where economic leverage and diplomatic brinkmanship intertwine amid a broader geopolitical rivalry. The Independent reports on a dramatic act of protest by Greenpeace, who, disguised as museum workers, stealthily stole a wax figure of Macron from the Grevin Museum in Paris and placed it outside the Russian embassy. This bold stunt aimed to highlight France's perceived hypocrisy in dealing with Russia, criticizing Macron for supporting Ukraine while allegedly encouraging French companies to continue trade with Russia. Greenpeace's report accuses France of double standards, emphasizing that President Macron, who has been a prominent supporter of Ukraine, should take the lead in ending trade with Russia, especially amidst ongoing peace talks and proposals for ceasefires from Moscow, Kiev, and Turkey. The narrative underscores the complex geopolitical chess game, with Turkey's Erdogan advocating for high-level peace negotiations involving Russia, Ukraine, and even the United States, in a bid to bring an end to the conflict that has gripped the region since 2022. Meanwhile, The Independent also sheds light on the controversial arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan in Wisconsin, captured through newly released surveillance footage. The video shows Dugan engaging with federal agents in her courthouse hallway moments before her arrest, amid accusations of obstructing their attempt to make an immigration arrest inside the courthouse. The footage reveals a tense interaction, with Dugan allegedly directing agents to consult with the chief judge and displaying a confrontational demeanor, though her defenders argue she acted within her judicial immunity. Her arrest, promoted by the Trump administration, has sparked a fierce debate over judicial independence, with numerous former judges condemning the prosecution as an unprecedented attack on the judiciary's integrity. Dugan has pleaded not guilty, asserting her actions were protected by judicial immunity, and her case has become a flashpoint in the ongoing battle over the limits of judicial authority and executive influence. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Waking up to wonders, checking nature blunders. Got our rockets flying while the oceans are sighing. Lasers in the sky now, holograms we say.